Joining me now is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat of Rhode Island, chair of the Senate Budget Committee. Thank you for joining us tonight, Senator.
You're welcome.
Let's start off tonight with the exclusive NBC News reporting tonight that a federal grand jury in the case, the Trump classified document case to be specific, will meet this week in Washington. Prosecutors for Special Counsel David Smith will be bringing them in with evidence and witnesses in the case they've heard for months. But activity in the case had slowed down in recent weeks. Trump maintains that the investigation is politically motivated. Your thoughts on what this all could mean?
Well, I think the special prosecutor is a very talented, tough, and experienced individual, and he's going through all the right steps. He's going through what I would call the final cleanup steps in an investigation, of going around to everybody at Mar-a-Lago who might know anything and make sure he's pinned down their testimony, closed off any escape hatches. And I think the recent revelation that there's a tape of Trump talking about a document that he knows to be classified is a very significant turn of events, because it blows up his defense, either that he declassified all the documents when he was president, or so what's the big deal, or, well, I thought they were declassified, so I don't have the right kind of criminal intent. I think he's in deep trouble.
Senator, between the debt ceiling deal and the May job numbers exceeding expectations, Democrats would appear to be operating from a place of strength right now. How do you expect that to impact priorities across both chambers going into the upcoming election year?
Well, I think if you look at the quiet signing ceremony that Joe Biden had, he did not take a big victory lap. I think he understands that in the cage match of Washington, D.C. politics, he gave the Republicans one heck of a thrashing. But in the world of policy and of families and of people going to work, there was nothing in that bill that was very good for anybody in America. But what he did do was he teed us up for 2024 quite well by showing that the Republicans were extremists, by putting the entire House Republican caucus on record voting for a bill that would cost 700,000 jobs and provoke a recession, and being unwilling to change one crooked tax loophole in the tax code. They defended all of the junk in the tax code. So politically, it was a very smart move, and I think it tees him up to move forward towards 24 pretty effectively.
Now, talking about moving toward 24 effectively, between now and 2025, at least 3 sitting Senate Democrats will retire. Ben Cardin of Maryland, Tom Carper of Delaware, and Dianne Feinstein in California. And with those pending retirement, Politico writes that Democrats have a, quote, rare trifecta of open seats in blue states. Even more unusual is the fact that a black woman is a top contender in each field. Vice President Harris was the last black woman to serve in the Senate, the second elected in the chamber's 234-year history. The Democratic Party has come to increasingly rely on black women voters, but getting them into statewide office remains a persistent challenge. With the future of the party in mind, should changing that be a priority for the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee?
Well, the key priority is to make sure we win those 3 races. We ought to win them. Those are good blue Democrat states, but you can never be too sure, and you want to make sure you've got the strongest candidate for the state. So I wish them all well. It looks like there's going to be a black woman member of Congress right now as the likely nominee for the Democratic Party in the seat in Delaware, which is terrific. There's a strong primary in California of really good candidates, and the field in Maryland seems to be still shaping up. So I think we're going to have very strong candidates in all of them, and it looks like at least one will be a black female candidate.
Senator, we're approaching in 3 weeks the anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. That decision overturning Roe versus Wade last June, and with that, the constitutional right to abortion in America. In the aftermath, some reproductive rights activists and members of Congress have called for reform of the Supreme Court, and I agree with that. Expansion of its members to offset the current conservative majority, term limits for justices in February, on the heels of several ethics scandals involving justices. You paired with Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson to reintroduce a bill to strengthen oversight of justices' activities, requiring them to adopt and follow a code of ethics. What can you tell us about the legislation, the Supreme Court Ethics, Recusal and Transparency Act is, and do you see a link between the court's decision on Dobbs and the scandals motivating this reform push, which has generated support even among Senate Republicans?
Sure. The bill that Hank Johnson and I have done is the most powerful and comprehensive judicial reform bill out there. And I think the conduct and behavior of the Supreme Court justices makes the case for it every single day. And the connection between the ethics scandal and Dobbs is pretty clear if you go back to the story of Reverend Schenck and his Supreme Court plan to wine and dine selected Supreme Court justices, Republican appointees, to get them to be bold and strong with respect to fighting abortion rights. And in fact, it was an early decision that called the Hobby Lobby case that related to contraception coverage, that this guy, Reverend Schenck, then a Republican operative, appears to have gotten advance notice of, either directly or indirectly, from Justice Alito, who was writing the decision. So the millions of dollars that were spent wining and dining the judges, the effort to influence them secretly, the leak of the decision, there's a big mess of ethics problems that surrounds the trajectory of the Dobbs decision and the decision itself.
All right. Thank you for being with us tonight, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island.